Hey guys, Ziz here. There's been some changes to the skill tree and new items have been added, so I wanted to make a new Valspark guide and make it a little more friendly for new players. For leveling the build, I have a separate video with leveling it as Flamelast Totems. It's very strong early on in the league and can be respec'd into Valspark once you have the gear needed. I'll put a link to the leveling video and it'll have the transfer skill trees in the description. It's not a bad first build because you can stay Flamelast Totems for a while and you can farm Alk tier 1 to 3 maps for currency, and then when you can afford to swap over, you do that. You Vaal all the Viridian jewels you find and hope to get a Sack Harvest or Chill Corruption, and I'm going to go over the different gear setups later. Your Templar is going to use the Inquisitor Ascendancy. The first one you take is Instruments of Virtue. Since you're using Shield Charge and Valspark, you get the bonuses from both. The Cruel and Merciless Ascendancy is taking Inevitable Judgment. It's not important to do Cruel Lab until you finish Merciless Lab because that's when you can start going full crit. But you also can't really use Valspark until you got that node. Uber Lab is Augury of Pentience, which is not super important. Bandits is Kraityn, Alira. We take Kraityn in normal for the resist, making it easier to gear, and it also gives us crit when we later on use an amulet called Choir of the Storm. Kraityn in Cruel for attack speed on shield charge gives us better clear speed, and Alira in Merciless for the power charge. To start off Valsparking, I'd recommend having at least one Sack Harvest, one Chill Corruption, Call of the Brotherhood, a level 17 Valspark. Having the Leech on Boots Enchant is super big for quality of life, and a cast when damage taken setup with Warlord's Mark helps you survive Reflect until you get a Vinctar. You also want to use a normal Topaz Flask until then. I have two characters which you can look at for gear and gem setups, which might change in the future, and I'll have them in the description. But ZizaranTeamTeam is currently wearing some MF gear, and ZizaranRageFace is wearing higher map gear. It's a great character to do magic find with because it's so fast and you can experiment with things like Sidima's Touch, Goldworm, Piranda's Blazing, and maybe even Mentor Gambles. I'll walk through some different items that are good now. Voice and Choir of the Storm was a huge upgrade to the build. It turns your uncapped lightning resist into crit. So if you manage to get 350% lightning resist, you get 350% increased critical strike. This is huge because it can let you drop things like Annihilation on the skill tree and just keeps your crit very high. The lightning bolt itself also deals significant damage, and the increased mana is really nice for when I run 3 auras later. Vestal of Vinctar is one of the early pickups you want to grab. As long as this is active, you cannot die to Reflect, which is why a reduced fast charge belt is amazing. They're usually undervalued on PoE trade as well, so you can pick up one fairly cheaply. The only flask that makes a difference is added damage to spells, because Inquisitor ignores resist, so the penetration one doesn't work. Kiara's Determination is my preferred choice for stun immunity. It makes freeze boxes a little sketchy since it can be hard to keep it up, but I don't like running Valerium. You want to get a nice helmet, and the best enchant is projectile speed. Spark damage is good too, especially if you want to play it safer. The additional sparks isn't that great for Valspark. For gloves, you can use either an Essence or Horror or Essence of Insanity on your gloves. With Horror, you can put your Spark setup in there and you can drop increased critical strikes for controlled destruction. This gives you a pretty nice boost in single target since you basically have a 5-link Spark now. The Insanity gloves, however, put your shield charge in there with faster attacks, fortify, and either 20% culling strike or a leveled enhance, and that's for people who really want to go extra fast. I'm not a big fan myself because when you go that fast you have to pay a lot more attention, and it can be very hard for me to read my chat while doing that. Both are very strong setups, and I'd say the Insanity one is probably better. On boots, you have several options. You can start out with any Leech boots and then change to Brinerot Whalers, Mutewind Whisper Steps, or Voidwalker, which is the best in slot. Voidwalker lets you drop the Pierce gem for crit multi, and Pierce nodes for either getting more attack speed, crit multi, or ES on the tree, whatever you feel is lacking at the time for your character. They're very cheap on softcore and they go down in price after around 2 or 3 weeks on hardcore. Weapon wise, the best in slot is Brightbeak. It gives you so much attack speed and just lets you clear really fast. If you feel yourself lacking in damage, you can get a dagger with spell crit, attack speed, and spell damage. Flat added to lightning or cold is very good as well. I wouldn't recommend using much under a 20% attack speed dagger. For the rare gear and gems, you can look at the characters that I mentioned earlier and they'll be in the description down below. It's a very useful character to have for leveling gems for other characters, and just spamming Dread Lake you can get a level 20 gem very fast. A lot of people have very different versions of this, but the most important thing is customizing it slightly to your own playstyle. It doesn't matter if anything is slightly more efficient if you don't enjoy playing it. I don't usually go this depth into with build guides, but hopefully you guys like it and it'll be easier for newer players to follow. Have a nice day, guys.